be here.
You know, we're waiting for this splashdown. There's a lot of anxiousness. This is the end of what has been described as a really successful mission, but this is an important, crucial next couple of hours.
Oh, absolutely. The re-entry and touchdown of safe recovery is just as important as the safe launch. I've done 3 re-entries from low Earth orbit. The one thing that's different about this, and I'm watching it closely on my own monitor over here, is they're coming in from a long ways out and intersecting the Earth's atmosphere. We were doing a low Earth orbit at 250 miles. You slow down a little bit just to drop your orbit into the upper atmosphere so you can catch up the friction. This is, it's a long wait as they're falling into Earth's gravity well. They've been coming back from the moon, and they're actually accelerating as you get closer and closer to the Earth.
Yeah, so it's 13 minute descent. I did it on the board there just a second ago. 24,000 miles an hour. That's got to feel quite something.
But and they don't feel that at all right now. And our speed in a normal low Earth orbit is about 17,500 miles an hour. So they're coming in that much hotter, if you will. And initially they don't feel anything at all as they're just falling. They're in 0 G until they start to encounter the upper atmosphere, and then you can start to, as the drag increases, you start to feel heavier and heavier as the G-forces of that deceleration push them down into their seats, and you know that it's coming in, and that's when they'll be watching and monitoring very carefully, as will we all.
And then when you have those parachutes and you have the splashdown and the crew comes to pick you up, that's got to feel pretty good.
Absolutely. Well, coming through the G's, at first you feel you're going more than 1 G. It'd be about 1.5 G's or so as they're decelerating. And then you reach a point where you're just free falling down through the air. You've done that hot part of the reentry, and you're free falling, and you reach the altitude where the parachutes will start. And then, at least in the Soyuz spacecraft, you get jerked around like a ball on the end of a string. It's actually quite violent as it throws you around, and then it settles down. But it's very personal because you're in a small spacecraft. There's explosive charges that deploy the chutes. All those are good sounds.
That sounds good. We look forward to seeing it and seeing the safe return of the astronauts. Colonel Fossum, we appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Get them home.
Up next, South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham on the Iran conflict, tomorrow's scheduled peace talks, and efforts to fund DHS.
The military is defeated. Their military is gone. They have, we've degraded just about everything. They have very few missiles. They have very little manufacturing capability. We've hit them hard.
What's missing from this discussion is the reality that this is a war that absolutely, positively did not have to take place.
Oh, nonsense. Shame on you. You're a traitor.
Well, plenty of opinions floating around about the Iran conflict. Here to talk about that and the possible use of reconciliation to get Homeland Security funding across the line, Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina. He's chairman of the Senate Budget Committee. Senator, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Let's first talk about Iran and where we are ahead of these peace talks in Islamabad. Okay. How do you see it? I know you talked to the president this afternoon.
Yeah, I did. Well, number one, I'm glad we're trying to solve it through diplomacy. What are we looking for? An Iran that can't build nuclear ballistic missiles to hit Europe or us. We're looking for them to get out of the state-sponsored terrorism business, and we're looking for them to abandon their quest to create a nuclear bomb because we fear they will use it. I've never felt better about the state that Iran is in. As we talk to them about ending this war, President Trump has done everything and then some to weaken them. And if they say no now, that tells you how crazy they are.
Absolutely.
Opening the strait, making sure it's a free flow.
Right.
It seems like it's a contentious issue.
It is, but we'll get there. I talked to him about the straits. We cannot allow a terrorist state like Iran to control navigable water. The straits are vital to oil deliveries, mostly for Europe, but he's not going to allow them to control the straits. He's not going to allow them to have ballistic missiles. He's not going to allow them to keep 900 pounds of highly enriched uranium. He set red lines, and these red lines are reasonable. I saw John Kerry, a war of choice. They were within 2 or 3 weeks, Iran, from having enough uranium to build 8 to 10 bombs. How do you get 60% uranium? Everything John Kerry, Obama, and Biden did failed. They're not supposed to have anything above 3.5%. They've been cheating. They bragged about enough 60% uranium, where there's no peaceful
Absolutely.
to go to 90 is 2 or 3 weeks, and you got 8 to 10 bombs. So Trump had to act. So John Kerry and everybody like John Kerry allowed Iran to get away literally with murder when it comes to missiles and their enrichment program, and those days are over.
You say these red lines, the strait being open, getting the uranium
Yeah,
out?
the 900 pounds that resides in Iran, if it went to 90%, would produce 8 to 10 nuclear bombs. It could be used now for a dirty bomb. That's non-negotiable. It's going to be like Libya. They're going to turn it over to us. That's the goal, to make sure they never can produce missiles to hit Europe or us, get out of financing terrorism, and no enrichment. John Kerry and that whole crowd gave Iran a small enrichment program, and what happened? It turned into a big enrichment program, enough uranium to produce 8 to 10 bombs. So the last guy on the planet I'd listen to about Iran would be John Kerry.
Vice
Right.
President Vance
Amen.
and Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner have been given this mandate by the president, and they know when to walk away if the Iranians say...
Number one, I'm glad they're going. So to the Vice President, give it your best shot. I'm glad we're trying to end this war the right way. It's not between war and peace. That's seldom your options. What do you do with a crazy man like Hitler? You stop him. People were afraid to confront him. What do you do about a regime that's been chanting death to America, death to Israel, and trying to build enough 8 to 10 bombs? You stop them. If we can do it through diplomacy, it's the preferred outcome. Let's put it this way. The conditions have been set by Donald Trump to get the most favorable negotiation I've ever seen.
And you think they're talking to the right people? Because the public voice in Iran, who's on X and every place else, is much different than what I hear is negotiating behind the scenes.
All I can say is the right people, the ones the Iranians picked. There is nobody in the regime that's normal. But having said that, maybe we can get a deal. President Trump, keep pursuing the deal. Vice President Vance, make sure the deal does not empower the Iranians.
I want to ask you about just some criticism within the Republican Party. Peggy Noonan with the Wall Street Journal, she references the Trump's truth socials. The whole civilization will die tonight.
Yeah.
Open the effing strait, you crazy bastard. She says you destabilize the world when, as the American president, you say such things. You make all the babies in this delicately poised, always knocked down of a world less safe. You rob your own nation to claim the moral seriousness in the military action in which it's engaged. She goes on to say it allows them to...
You're just in time for Brett Baer. You're just rewinded a hair.
Do a murder when it comes to missiles and their enrichment program, and those days are over.
You say these red lines, the strait being open, getting the uranium
Yeah,
out.
the 900 pounds that resides in Iran, if it went to 90%, would produce 8 to 10 nuclear bombs. It could be used now for a dirty bomb. That's non-negotiable. It's going to be like Libya. They're going to turn it over to us. That's the goal, to make sure they never can produce missiles to hit Europe or us, get out of financing terrorism, and no enrichment. John Kerry and that whole crowd gave Iran a small enrichment program, and what happened? It turned into a big enrichment program, enough uranium to produce 8 to 10 bombs. So the last guy on the planet I'd listen to about Iran would be John Kerry.
Vice President
Absolutely,
Vance
the
and
last
Steve Witkoff
man.
and Jared Kushner have been given this mandate by the president, and they know when to walk away if the Iranians say...
Number one, I'm glad they're going. So to the Vice President, give it your best shot. I'm glad we're trying to end this war the right way. It's not between war and peace. That's seldom your options. What do you do with a crazy man like Hitler? You stop him. People were afraid to confront him. What do you do about a regime that's been chanting death to America, death to Israel, and trying to build enough 8 to 10 bombs? You stop them. If we could do it through diplomacy, it's the preferred outcome. Let's put it this way. The conditions have been set by Donald Trump to get the most favorable negotiation I've ever seen.
And you think they're talking to the right people? Because the public voice in Iran, who's on X and every place else, is much different than what I hear is negotiating behind the scenes.
All I can say is the right people, the ones the Iranians picked. There is nobody in the regime that's normal. But having said that, maybe we can get a deal. President Trump, keep pursuing the deal. Vice President Vance, make sure the deal does not empower the Iranians.
I want to ask you about just some criticism within the Republican Party. Peggy Noonan with the Wall Street Journal, She references the Trump's truth socials. The whole civilization will die tonight.
Yeah.
Open the effing straight, you crazy bastard. She says you destabilize the world when, as the American president, you say such things. You make all the babies in this delicately poised, always knockdownable world less safe. You rob your own nation to claim the moral seriousness in military action in which it's engaged. She goes on to say it allows them to pretend they're fighting for the continuation of their people, not only the continuation of their regime. How do you deal with that criticism?
If you're looking for her to have the Iranians change their behavior, she's the problem, not the solution. He's talking to a specific audience. He's not talking to Peggy Noonan. He's talking to bloodthirsty killers who have slaughtered 45,000 people, who are demanding a better life, took a girl off a bus, 16, and beat her to death because she didn't wear a headscarf.
So you think the language is okay?
I think the outcome is what I'm looking for. And if you're talking to stone cold homicidal maniacs, you need to speak the language they can understand.
Right.
All these people who want to criticize Trump, what did you do with Iran?
Right.
He's the first guy to take this regime on. He's destroyed their
Get out of his hair. He's doing a great job for the country and for the world.
We're not done yet. I hope we can end this through diplomacy, but I'll tell you this, to the Iranians, I just talked to Trump today. If you don't take this deal, you're going to regret it.
Absolutely.
Speaking of deals, news on reconciliation and funding DHS?
Yeah, the reconciliation train is on the tracks. We're going to have a very specific bill coming out before June 1st that will fund the Border Patrol and ICE for the entire presidency, the 3 years left of President Trump. Not one Democrat supports Border Patrol funding. Not one Democrat supports ICE funding. As budget chairman, I can do this through reconciliation without one Democratic vote. I told President Trump, we're going to deliver. We're going to give you the money you need to run the Border Patrol and ICE for the rest of your presidency without one Democratic vote.
And the rest
Amen.
of DHS with the Senate bill, the House kind of wants the reconciliation to go first before they do all that other stuff.
We're going to do it first to prove to the House that we got the votes. But when you do what I just said, fund ICE and Border Patrol with the deal we've had, then you got DHS in a good shape. Here's what I want the American people to know. As dangerous as the world is, the Democratic Party will not give money to the Border Patrol at a time of great danger and peril. ICE can be reformed, but they want to put it out of business. This is insane.
Last thing, do you think this war that we're in and this fight over ICE is hurting re-election chances for Republicans in the fall?
I think President Trump is stopping a homicidal maniac regime from acquiring a nuclear weapon. And if you don't treat him that way, you missed a lot in the last 47 years. There's nothing normal. And if we can get a deal, let's do it. As to ICE, I think most Americans, look at the polls, still support the idea of taking the 15 million that were overrun our borders. Biden obliterated our borders. We're cleaning up his mess. Only God knows who's here. So yes, I support ICE, and I think most people do. We're dealing with a failed presidency called Joe Biden. The Iranians have flushed with cash because of Obama and Biden. Now they're on their back foot, and we're going to finish this job. I pray for a deal, but if they refuse a deal, just ask Maduro what happens when you turn down a good deal. Call him, but he's in jail. You won't be in jail. You're going to be dead.
Senator, we appreciate the time. We'll follow all of it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Up next, the panel on tomorrow's scheduled peace talks between U.S. and Iran. And then it's Friday. Notable quotables.
Amen.
Maria Bartiromo, streaming now on Fox Nation.
We've got the A-team going to Pakistan to negotiate with the Iranians, and we also have backup plans if necessary.
You don't need a backup plan. We have the military is defeated.
If they're going to try to play us, then they're going to find that the negotiating team is not that receptive.
This goes to show something that we all know is that, one side can start a war. Generally, one side can't end it.
Iran is a cancer, all right? And whenever you're trying to cure cancer, the medicine is going to be painful.
Well, the talks in Islamabad scheduled to start tomorrow, and the major players there, obviously the Vice President leading that contingent along with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. And on the Iranian side, I think we have the major players. It's the Iranian parliament leader and the foreign minister. So with that, let's bring in our panel. Fox News contributor Molly Hemingway, author of the new book, Alito, the Justice Who Reshaped the Supreme Court and Restored the Constitution, Democratic strategist Adrian Elrod, and Chris Ryan, host of New Hampshire Today with Chris Ryan of WGIR and iHeartRadio. Okay, Molly, prospects, you heard Senator Graham, there's hope, springs eternal, but there are complicated parts here to this negotiation.
Well, it's a very complicated scenario, and Iran has not exactly shown that they are the best faith partners in this enterprise. But to bring up what you'd said about Peggy Noonan criticizing what President Trump said earlier in the week, I think it's totally legitimate to criticize him. It's also true that that power that he's projecting, reminding Iran that we could go back and obliterate much infrastructure, that's got to weigh heavily on their minds as they are in negotiations.
Yeah, here is that part with Senator Graham. Take a listen.
He's talking to bloodthirsty killers who have slaughtered 45,000 people, who are demanding a better life.
So you think the language is okay?
I think the outcome is what I'm looking for. And if you're talking to stone cold homicidal maniacs, you need to speak the language.
Adrian?
I mean, sure, he's right about that. But look, here's the bottom line. I mean, I think a lot of Americans are still confused why we were in this situation to begin with. Why are we even in the situation with Iran to begin with? What we do know is the strait has got to be reopened. Gas prices are soaring across the country. So if Americans want to see relief, we need to hope and pray that there is some sort of outcome here.
I mean, they would say, the administration would say, we're in it because they had 900 pounds of highly enriched uranium to 60%. It could turn to 90% very quickly, Chris. And the missiles were threatening not only our allies, but our bases in the region. And they were not helping.
Yeah, there's no question that you have to deal with this regime in a significant way in terms of the language that you use. But if they are bloodthirsty, homicidal maniacs, threatening to annihilate the Iranian people is not going to move them in one direction or the other. This show of strength, I think, is important, but there also needs to be a strong show of action. We have seen the Iranian regime lay out a laughable 10-point plan. That needs to be thoroughly rejected by this administration. They need to go in and they need to set the tone. You see Iran playing around a little bit. Are we going to show up? Are we not going to show up? Are you going to meet our prerequisites? Are you not going to meet our prerequisites? We cannot leave that without a firm guarantee about the Strait of Hormuz being open. This notion of them controlling the straits, extorting ships and countries is laughable. The United States needs to set this very clear that we dominated the warfare aspect of this, and now we're going to dominate the negotiation and the peace, and that's what I'm looking for from Vice President Vance.
And another part of this, that's part of the complication, is Israel and Lebanon, and Israel's attacks on Lebanon, the Iranians saying that has to stop and be a part of the ceasefire in order for tomorrow to begin.
It's all related, and I think Trump has worked to have a pause on that as well. But there are so many regional implications in this situation. And to Adrian's point, one of the things I think is actually more compelling to the American people is to explain why this war with Iran also has economic impact for our country. That strait that's the way that Europe gets its goods. That's the way Australia gets its oil. That's the way China gets its oil. It's not really our strait. And yet, why are we the ones who are always the people who have to be in there cleaning up everybody's mess?
And there is a thought that there's a coalition that is building and stepping up here, Adrian, and we may see more of that in coming days.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly hope so. And Molly also raises a great point that oftentimes it is the United States who has to come into these regions and solve the problems for the world. But again, I think President Trump and his administration need to do a little bit of more of a better job explaining to the American people why we're here and why the actions that we are taking with whomever we're negotiating with. I mean, right now it's the leader of the parliament. Another day it may be someone else. We don't know how that's going to play out, why we are doing this, and how this is going to ultimately affect people's pocketbooks.
Let's do a quick, go ahead.
I do think also it's really an important issue for the midterms. This is a war that has political implications, and handing over the government to Democrats is a major concern for Republican voters and a lot of other people.
Lightning winners and losers. Winner first, then loser.
Artemis 2 crew, this is a very divided time, praying for a safe landing this evening, but these individuals have brought America together, and to me, they're the big winners. The losers, the American consumer. The CPI report was brutal today.
Molly, winner or loser?
My winner is Showtime Ohtani, who's had this amazing opening to his season, getting on base. It's gone for 43 straight games. My losers are those chimpanzees in Uganda who broke out in civil war after 20 years of working together.
Wow. Winner and loser.
I mean, right now, Brett, my winner is Rory McIlroy. He's winning the Masters two up.
No, now he's like 5. Don't tell anybody who's recording it.
Oh, yeah. Last I checked, but good to know. I'm a huge fan of the Masters. I know you are, too. The losers are Republicans in all these special elections, Brett. We've seen 30 state legislative seats flip to Democrats since Trump has been elected. And we've also seen some of the seats where Republicans have won. Democrats have thinned out the margins.
We will see. Months away from midterms. Panel, thanks.
Thank you.
Has just issued a Truth Social. I agree to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks.
They wanted this ceasefire with the United States because they no longer could tolerate being bombed.
We consume more than 6 million meals, more than 950,000 gallons of coffee, 2 million energy drinks, and a lot of nicotine, but I'm not saying that we have a problem.
Safe passage is secure. Strait of Hormuz is open.
The ceasefire is a joke.
People like you are fake. Trump's war, with a price tag of $44 billion and $4 gas, made us worse off.
Nah, there really ain't no burden for me because I got money, so I'm going to pay for some gas.
Under Secretary Mullins, DHS has become more secretive, not less.
You love this job. I love it. Why is that?
The best word I would describe this is awesome.
Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, the crew of Artemis 2, will come home.
We saw sights that no human has ever seen.
I actually had a special guest that asked that I give him a phone call.
I'm sorry, the person you were trying to reach has a voicemail box that has not been set up yet.
Welcome to Augusta National.
Time has stood still here, and they honor that tradition.
3, 2, 1. 1 week. Monday on Special Report, the latest on the U.S.-Iran peace negotiations in Pakistan. Please join Aisha Hunt.
So, with Integrity now flying free on its own for the remaining.
And don't forget, this is a test flight. I mean, we had the uncrewed test flight of Artemis 1.
This isn't live, so I'm going to fast forward to live so we don't miss whatever's happening now.
Yeah.
Come on.
No issues with the crew. And the weather at the splashdown site is go.
Captain, we're going to go back to you here.
Interface.
Yeah, Captain, we're going to go back to you at this point. What's the point of no return during re-entry when you realize that, you got it, it's going to work, you're going to get down, and you can breathe a sigh of relief?
Yeah, they're well past the point of no return. Actually, when they did the translunar injection burn, 26 hours into the mission, that determined their re-entry. They're coming in. They can adjust it a little bit, as Terry mentioned, but they're basically committed to landing off the coast of San Diego, plus or minus maybe 100 miles. And so they're committed all the way. I think the sigh of relief only comes when you splash down and everything's still intact. That's when you might relax a little bit, like we made it. And I'll tell you, Laura, what an existence we have here on planet Earth. The air is all around us. We don't have to make it. We're not zooming. Well, we are zooming. The planet itself is zooming through space, but you're not going 25,000 miles an hour. Just a carefree life. What a great existence we have here on the planet. And you should just be counting your blessings every day you're alive, how good we have.
Jerry, we're going to have to go. We got re-entry in 10 seconds. I know you understand this. Let's listen into NASA.
And we have crossed the threshold, now entering the Earth's atmosphere. We're at 400,000 feet, traveling 34,800 feet per second. Time to splash down, 13 minutes, 10 seconds. And as predicted, we've entered our communications blackout. This will be a 6-minute blackout period. No voice, no data from the crew. We're 30 seconds away from the anticipated point of peak heating on the vehicle, where temperatures will rise to about 4,000 to 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the true test of our trajectory. And from the G5 aircraft in the vicinity of the splashdown zone, this view of integrity. So that pinpoint of light shows the vehicle as it enters the period of peak heating in the Earth's atmosphere, the first tug of gravity being felt by Integrity's astronauts since their launch back on April 1st. Four and a half minutes until the end of the blackout period. Time to splash down, 11 minutes, 33 seconds. The landing and support officer reports that the P3 has acquisition on Integrity. Three and a half minutes left in this blackout period. This is a visualization of the plasma buildup around the spacecraft and the repelling of that heat on Integrity's heat shield. Flight Dynamics reports that airborne assets in the vicinity of the splashdown zone do have a visual on Integrity. Still 2 minutes and 40 seconds left in our blackout period. Time to splashdown, 9 minutes, 35 seconds. Multiple airborne assets as part of the recovery team all have visuals on Integrity. And the WB-57 flying in the splashdown zone also has a visual. And the Navy helos also have visuals. We're still in the blackout period. Still do not have communications from the crew.
splashdown off the coast of San Diego where the weather is beautiful. Let's listen back in.
We are now processing data from Integrity. Landing and Support Officer reports the small boats are en route to the splashdown target zone. Passing through 150,000 feet, our trajectory is perfect. We're getting intermittent views of Integrity. Still waiting to establish voice communication.
Integrity, Houston, comm check, post blackout.
Houston, Integrity, we have you loud and clear.
Your trajectory is nominal and your recovery teams have visual.
Guys, looks good.
No action for the enabled internal camera controller fail.
Big cheers from the viewing room here in Mission Control as voice communication reestablished with Commander Reed Wiseman. For America and a waiting world, Integrity is 5.5 minutes away from coming home. Passing 100,000 feet now. Range to splashdown 19 nautical miles.
Integrity, impact to the camera controller fail is no cab line views of the chutes.
Integrity.
We're processing good data through the GPS system. A good view of Integrity, time to splashdown 4.5 minutes. And a view of Integrity from the WB-57. We're at 50,000 feet. The pyros are armed for forward bay cover jettison. And there go the first series of parachutes, and we're on drogues.
And Houston, we're visual, 2 drones out the window.
2 good drogue chutes. Next up.
We copy, we see them.
Next up, the deployment of pilot parachutes that will pull the main chutes out. Time to splash down 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Perfect descent rate according to flight dynamics.
Good rate on 2 drogues.
We keep the same on board.
Passing through 10,000 feet, still on drogues. Main chute deploy. We're at 5,000 feet. Search and recovery beacon has been activated on integrity. And we have 3 good main chutes. Good 3 main chutes, good reefing, good descent rate.
Good rates, and we see 3 good looking parachutes. Integrity. Cabin pressure indicates no need for hydrazine checks.
Integrity copies.
This is a perfect descent for integrity. Its crew sounding hale and hearty on board. Time to splash down 1 minute, 15 seconds.
Amazing. Iran ought to take note of this, of how accurate we do things.
Integrity about to complete a journey spanning 694,481 miles from its launch from the Kennedy Space Center back on April 1st, and a trip around the moon.
And realize that when President Trump says they ought to make a deal, they ought to make a deal. And recognize they're getting a great gift by just letting them live after they've acted the way they've acted against Israel and America and their
Passing
neighbors.
through 1,000 feet.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jesus. That's actually beautiful, isn't it, June?
Integrity, splashdown, sending post-landing command now.
Splashdown confirmed.
Copy splashdown, waiting on VLDR.
Splashdown confirmed at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time. From the pages of Jules Verne to a modern-day mission to the moon, a new chapter of the exploration of our celestial neighbor is complete. Integrity's astronauts back on Earth.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, President
And
Trump
the landing
and
support
team.
officer reports the vehicle is stable 1. We still will be deploying the crew module uprighting system to maintain that orientation. A perfect bullseye splashdown for Integrity and its 4 astronauts. The unofficial splashdown time, 7:07 and 47 seconds p.m. Central Time. We'll get that refined for you. That would put the end of the mission at a mission elapsed time of 9 days, 1 hour, 31 minutes, 35 seconds. And we're configuring for a very low data rate. Once again, splashdown occurring in the Pacific, southwest of San Diego at 7:07 and 47 seconds p.m.
Integrity Houston, comm check on VLDR.
Houston, we have you loud and clear on VLDR. Hollis.
We have you the same. We'll meet you over in post landing.
Perfect communications established.
A journey. We are stable 1, 4 green crew members.
Houston copies all.
Reed Wiseman reporting 4 green crew members. That is not their complexion. That is the fact that they're in great condition. That's what that means. So stable 1, upright. The crew module uprighting system is being deployed. The 5 airbags being inflated through helium to maintain the upright configuration for the vehicle. This was a textbook entry and a textbook touchdown for Integrity. Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen back on Earth after a journey around the moon.
Amazing.
Integrity is back on planet Earth. Stuck the landing. How beautiful. God is good. They went farther than any human had ever gone before, and wow. Great power struggle between the United States and China. The space race, the United States firmly in the lead, taking us one step closer to a moon base and another step closer to Mars. Historic day for the United States and mankind. Let's bring in Butch Wilmore, former NASA astronaut and Fox News contributor. How does that feel, Butch?
Jesse, I couldn't say it any better than you did. Wow. I mean, wow. Put it in perspective. On Wednesday of last week, we launched 8.8 million pounds of thrust, this crew into orbit. The next day, they burned the translunar injection burn, and that put them on the course. That was the burn that would bring them back to Earth. There weren't other burns. There was a little tweaking here and there, but there was no other major burn. When that burn concluded, they said, well, they'll land 7 minutes after the hour. And that's exactly what happened 8 days later. I mean, it's thrilling. It's amazing. And God bless the United States of America. Wow.
I mean, bullseye right there in the Pacific off the coast of San Diego. And the Navy's on the way. They got great communication from inside. You've splashed down like that. What's that feel like?
It's a great feeling, obviously. Our stay was a little extended. It was special. This is so special. I mean, traveling faster than any human has ever traveled. Gone further than any human has ever traveled. Jesse, I just want to share. I wore this orange tie. This is historically the color of Navy test flight. You got 2 Navy test pilots in the front seat. I wore this in honor of them. It's just an amazing thrill. I'm beside myself. I'm almost speechless. I mean, exactly bullseye. Wow. On the minute. Wow. Wow.
I mean, I've never been this nervous covering anything in my entire life, and I can't even imagine how these people feel. We're getting word that all 4 crew members are in excellent condition and just on the way back from the dark side of the moon. 10 days. And now waiting for retrieval, which should be there any minute. What an accomplishment for the United States.
What an accomplishment. It is, like you said, it's amazing. Think about it. Almost 57 plus years ago, Apollo 8 circled the planet. The world was watching. There are very few events in human history, modern human history, where the world, the entire world, is literally watching, and we've just witnessed one. This is absolutely monumental.
So
Magnificent.
right now, they're checking to see if there's any toxicity surrounding.
I'm glad I'm alive to see this, June.
None so far.
I know you are too.
So far, so good.
Josie, our cat, and Peekaboo, our other cat, they see it too.
Almost a perfect re-entry.
And all the kids, brothers and sisters, all the families.
Absolutely perfect. You can see the capsule there in the view. Those are the uprighting bags. If it were to go stable 2, which means it would have been inverted, those bags would have lifted it up to the upright position, which is stable 1. It landed stable 1, but the bags still inflate just in case a wave or something. Obviously, it's smooth seas right now. That would not happen in this scenario. But yeah, they're sniffing. They're making sure. Hypergolic fuels is what is on the spacecraft. And basically, you have a fuel and an oxidizer. When they meet, they explode. There's no ignition source. It's a chemical reaction. So those hypergolic fuels are on board, making sure all those orifices are closed. So what they'll do is get closer and closer. They'll sniff, make sure everything's fine, because you don't want to start extracting the crew with a bad atmosphere around them. So that's what they're doing in those checks.
They're having a little bit of an issue with the phone inside the capsule. Everything's fine with the crew, just the phone is having a little bit of a technical difficulty. What's it like when you're just sitting there? Are all the things that were in the capsule just scattered all over the place? Is it a complete mess?
No, they got into ship-shape condition before they started the reentry phase. They got everything strapped down, tied down. If there was anything floating, it's not anymore, obviously, after going through those 4 Gs on reentry. And think about this, too, Jesse. 32 times the speed of sound. The patch that they'll wear will have a 32 on it. No other modern-day astronaut has that. And those that follow will have the same.
Wow. What a great day to witness something like this. Oh man, it's just such a special moment. Thank you so much, Butch, for joining us for Splashdown. We'll never forget it.
Thank you. Amen, brother. Amen.
Yeah,
thank you.
Winston Scott, former NASA astronaut. Winston, you were here 10 days ago with me on launch day. Now here we are as these 4 pioneers just splashed down in the Pacific.
Absolutely, and it's good to be back again. I tell you what, this is a momentous occasion. I'm just so excited. I was just listening to my buddy Butch there give his comments, and we all are at a loss of words to express how awesome this actually is. An incredible mission from start to finish, launching from the Earth, going around the moon, taking all those photos, re-entry, an incredibly fast re-entry, touchdown, and now they're sitting there waiting to be picked up by the Navy. So it's just a really exciting day. I'm excited for them.
Yeah, we're still waiting to get some audio from the crew. We're going to turn that around. The phone there is having a little bit of it's on the fritz, as they say. But everybody's good and everybody's happy and healthy.
Everybody's good, everybody's healthy and happy. You know, you asked a minute ago, is there a mess in the capsule? No, the capsule is quite orderly. Before they left orbit, they stowed everything away and put everything where it's supposed to be. Some of the things we don't think about, but we talked about, we like to laugh about the toilet, the universal waste management system. When you go into orbit, you have to activate the toilet. Before you come home, you have to deactivate it and prepare to come home. Same thing with the galley, the kitchen, the food preparation facilities. So we not only do you have to prepare a rocket and a complex vehicle, but all the normal housekeeping things that we prepare here on Earth when we go away on a long vacation or whatever, they have to prepare it on orbit and prepare before you come back home. So much went into preparation to return to Earth, aside from executing the deorbit burn, entry interface, and so on. All kind of things you don't think about.
Yeah, the heat shield held up. The hand-me-down heat shield, they used it on the last run, had a little, some bruises on it, and they reused it. They didn't want to make a new one, and guess what? They didn't need it, because it came through perfectly, didn't it?
It came through perfectly. What they did was there was no time to redesign it for this flight, so they changed the trajectory. They made the trajectory a little bit steeper, so the capsule saw higher temperatures, but over a shorter period of time. The analysis showed them that this heat shield would hold out better over a shorter period of time, rather than lower temperatures over a longer period of time. You know, what we call the heat shield, the thermal protection system, that thing takes a lot of abuse. It's not unusual. On my Columbia flight, remember we lost Columbia in 03. I flew Columbia in 97, and it was determined that we had some of the highest tile damage in the history of the program. Our damage did not come from heat, it came from micrometeorites. So my point is that heat shield takes a lot of abuse, but in this case, apparently it held up real well. The folks are back on the water safely, but believe me, there will be a thorough analysis of this heat shield.
You put that heat shield in the Hall of Fame, right? Oh man, God bless that heat shield held up. That's a hot ride.
Absolutely.
Winston.
Well, for Artemis 3 coming next year, there's a redesigned heat shield that's already in work to replace this one. This one was the old one with which they had problems. There'll be a totally new design one for the next flight, and I suspect they'll go back to the original skip re-entry. Yeah, so that's what's happening there.
All right, beautiful technological innovation taking place. It's just awe-inspiring to see what the human brain is capable of. Winston, thanks so much for joining us. You bookended it, the Artemis 2 voyage to the dark side of the moon. We love you for that.
And Josie is resting after all the work on this flight and seeing the crew come back. She is so happy and so happy. And I don't know where Peekaboo is, but he might be on the bed somewhere. But I know he's happy too. And we'll find him eventually here.
You want to put this into words?
Maybe he's in the window.
It's just so special.
Man, it's how awesome.
But Josie's just zonked out. She's exhausted. She said, "I'm really proud of him, Dad, Mom."
My thought was with the families of these four, my friends, these astronauts that I know, and if I'm nervous, my goodness, their family and loved ones were, I'm sure, even more nervous. But boy, those milestones clicked off. The separation, the entry interface, the comm blackout, exactly like they planned it, the comm check, and the drogue and the main chutes. Man, it was just perfect and really wonderful to see. Wonderful to have those guys back on the ground, the whole crew on the ground. And really, I'm relieved for their families and friends because, I was sweating it a little bit here. And I know that my family hates the launch and the landings just because it's so stressful. So it's wonderful for them to know that their loved ones are back.
Now, I need a drink. Can you tell us a little bit about the pyrotechnics and the parachutes? Were they blasting those parachutes off the capsule? How many were there?
So let's see. So the first thing that has to happen is the top, the lid that holds the whole thing together has to come off. Those are some pyros that pull the lid off. And then there's a set of parachutes called the drogues. Those are those two small parachutes, and their main job is to slow it down a little bit, but mainly to stabilize the capsule so that the capsule has a stable attitude as it's coming down. And so it slows it down. I think it's to like from 130 miles an hour to something like 60 or something like that. I can't remember the numbers. And then you don't want the mains to come out too early because then you could drift forever. So it was at something like 5,000 or 6,000 feet when the mains came out. And so that's another set of pyros. So they have pyros that let the drogues go, and then they have another set of pyros that has these smaller, I think they're parachutes or some sort of drag mechanism that pulls the mains out. And you saw those three mains come out, and they don't want to come out full size right away because the shock of the suddenness of the deceleration would be jarring. It might even break the straps on this parachute. So they come out in a small profile, and then there are actually some, they're not pyrotechnic, but there are ways to have mechanical fuses that will then what's called reef, and then they will pop, 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 pop. and make the parachute
Thank you,
larger.
Jesus.
All those mechanisms, the pyros and the mechanical devices, are a must work, and they test them over and over, and boy, they did a great job.
We're getting a real tight shot of the capsule right now.
Beautiful.
Orion, and we're seeing these naval vessels just standing by, still establishing communication with the crew. The crew's fine, just the phone isn't working properly. It's kind of funny listening to NASA talk to these guys and trying to establish communication. Everyone's fine, everyone's all right. You're seeing a helicopter circling above. They're gonna extract the crew momentarily and bring them back to the John Murtha, a naval vessel out there about 50 miles outside San Diego. Thank you so much, Dan, for your expertise and being here with us on this beautiful day.
It's my pleasure. What an honor to be here, and with such a fantastic event in NASA history.
It sure is. Thank you again. Scott Hubbard, a.k.a. the Mars Czar. He's the former director of NASA's Mars Exploration Program. All right, Mars Czar, everybody, why are we going to the moon? Why do we need a base there? Tell us.
We've absolutely got to return to the moon. Now, I have to say, I was a skeptic for a long time about going to the moon. I worried that I would get stuck there and the United States would not be able to go on to Mars. But when you look at what happens to the human being, the way our bodies change, the way space affects us, we really need to know what happens. And the best way to do that is to go to the moon, spend time there, learn, if you're in 1/6 gravity, what happens to you. Because you don't want something to happen if you're 7 months away at Mars and you don't understand what's going to happen when you descend in that capsule into the 3/8 G that's Mars. I think it's really important. I used to not feel that way, but having a base on the moon, understanding what it is to explore that alien world, that's all part of getting to Mars.
And the Chinese are also eyeing parts of the moon. I think this was maybe a competition for some real estate, perhaps a parking space. We want to establish a presence there before they do.
Yeah, it's really important, I think, that we know how to work in the moon's gravity. It's important that we land in the area there that's near the South Pole Aitken Basin. It's called Shackleton Crater. And there's two things there you need. One, in that permanently shadowed crater, it looks like there's a lot of water ice that you can use for oxygen and rocket fuel. And nearby is a place they call the Peak of Eternal Light. It's not quite eternal, but it's lit most of the time so that you can, in fact, get solar energy. So that piece of real estate, which isn't very large, becomes extremely important for a moon base.
And I think that you can see on the bottom right hand of the screen, Mr. Isaacson, who is the NASA head. If you want to listen in, producers, can we hear his take?
So this is an accomplishment for humanity again, a historic mission to the moon and back. How does this make you feel, and what do you hope people take away from this?
Well, I'll tell you, I think about the crew members that we've all had an opportunity to observe over the last 10 days, right? I mean, they're absolutely professional astronauts. I mean, wonderful communicators, almost poets. But then I think these were the ambassadors from humanity to the stars that we sent out there right now, and I can't imagine a better crew than the Artemis 2 crew that just completed a perfect mission right now. So yes, it's a huge moment for everybody, right? I mean, we are back in the business of sending astronauts to the moon, bringing them back safely, and to set up for a series more. I mean, this is not a once in a lifetime, which you hear sometimes around here. It's like, this was a once in a lifetime. No, it's not. This is just the beginning. We are going to get back into doing this with frequency, sending missions to the moon until we land on it in 2028 and start building our base.
Yeah, are we going to build on the momentum for Artemis 3? I mean, it's just around the corner.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that's, part of me too. Like, I can't wait to get the crew off of Integrity right now, but also getting human integrity back on this ship so we can start taking a look at it, because all that data is so precious to us right now. I mean, we are going to definitely want to take a good look at the thermal protection system. We're going to want to download all the data they couldn't transmit back to us and use that to inform Artemis 3. But we're already making progress, right? You had SRB segments already showing up at KSC. Core stage for Artemis 3 is rolling out on April 20th. We're getting Mobile Launcher 1 back in vehicle assembly building. So yes, there is a lot to celebrate right now on a mission well accomplished for Artemis 2, and at the same time, we got to start getting ready for 3.
Amazing. And last question, for people who joined us for all 10 days to see what we can accomplish together with our international partners, what do you think about the fact that we're going to keep doing this more and more and more?
It's incredibly exciting. I mean, yes, it's the contributions, like the best and brightest across the NASA workforce from across the country, our industry partners, our international partners. We had a Canadian Space Agency astronaut on board in Jeremy. We had the European Service Module. And you think in the days leading up to this launch, I mean, 48 hours prior to launching Artemis 2, I was meeting with the Italian Space Agency. We signed a memorandum of understanding to build a habitation module on the moon. I mean, you have countries, all of our allies and partners coming together saying, we are committed to this effort, we are returning to the moon, we're doing it to stay, we are building that enduring presence, we are going to master the skills on the surface of the moon so someday we can undertake missions to Mars. It's just an incredibly exciting time, and we're not going at it alone, we're bringing everybody along with us.
Absolutely. And speaking of everyone, one more time, we're going to ask the crew here, you guys ready to land on the moon? Awesome, I love that. Okay, well, thank you so much, Administrator. Appreciate you being here. We're, of course, going to stay on to watch the crew get extracted from Orion, so stay tuned, and we'll see you back here shortly.
Jared Isaacman, the NASA administrator. He's done a lot for the program, really brought it back to life. So again, the crew is safe and secure in the capsule, and we're just waiting for them to work out some sort of communication glitch they're having with the phone. Everyone is fine. Naval vessels have surrounded Orion, and we have the John Murtha ship standing by, waiting to extract them and bring them back, and undergoing all sorts of medical testing after that. Scott, tell me a little bit about Jared Isaacman. He's an Elon Musk guy. He really took this program to a whole nother level.
He has. I think he's done an extraordinary job, certainly with the human spaceflight program. He made a decision to turn Artemis 3 into a test on orbit of the things that SpaceX and Blue Origin are supposed to be building, and I think that was absolutely the right move. We need to know that those entrepreneurs can deliver. He's clearly flown twice on a SpaceX venture, so he knows spaceflight. So thus far, I'm really quite impressed with how he's handled the human spaceflight program.
And how would you describe the 10 days? This has been perfection, besides the toilet, but just the communication with the crew, the Nutella that's floating around, naming a part of the moon after your wife. There's just been so many beautiful moments for the country to remember and to cherish.
Absolutely. I mean, this has been just an extraordinary achievement, an engineering achievement, a test program, a political achievement, all rolled into one. And think about it, it's 58 years since Apollo 8. And that was the last time we did this, and after probably 2 generations of engineers, NASA can still deliver. I mean, that's some learning. It's some passing down of what had been done before and then inventing a whole new generation of people that can do this. I'm really feeling great today.
So am I, Scott, and you should be. Thank you so much.
Well, I think it was sensational. This program started under President Trump. There have been 2 other presidents, Bush Sr. and George W., who tried to get a moon program going. That didn't work. And it was under Trump that it got restarted. And shockingly, the transition to the Biden administration, almost nothing happened to change it. And here we are continuing today. So, it's great to feel this momentum. There have been so many false starts. This has taken a long time. Parts of this system have been under development since the early 2000s, since 2004. But we finally see the culmination of these efforts. I think Isaac is a tremendous new administrator, been to space twice, gets it, young, successful entrepreneur. And I think he's really injected new energy into the program, and people feel that, including those on the flight.
And for those at home who don't understand, these orange inflatables that you're seeing at the top of the capsule, that's in case the capsule lands upside down, and that enables them to flip it over, kind of like a capsized canoe. It just flips it right over. We didn't need that because it was a perfect landing. And you can also see the helicopters circling above, and they're going to be soon taking these 4 brilliant pioneers to the ship for medical exams, check them out. And I think later they have to undergo all sorts of kind of physical experimentations. They have to climb a ladder, maybe some jumping jacks to get reacquainted to gravity.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, I was at Johnson Space Center until yesterday covering this, and they took us to a tour over to Building 9, which is where the mock-up of the Orion capsule is. And, you know, they keep saying it's as big as 2 minivans. Well, with all that stuff in it, with 4 suits and all that food and all the other supplies, it's really small. It looks big on those wide-angle cameras, but it's small. So being there with 3 of your best friends for 10 days is quite an achievement. And yes, the toilet acted up. They did get it worked out. But that was the story the press was maxing on for days.
Okay, thank you so much, Rod. As a history major, my hat's off to you. I love it.
Thanks. It's a pleasure.
Terry Hart, former NASA astronaut. All right, so Terry, tell us what we're looking at right now.
Well, they're floating there, and they're safe, and a lot of the people at NASA are really happy about that right now. And yeah, Jesse, people see the astronauts all the time. You know, it's wonderful, and we're really honored to have that privilege to fly these vehicles. But boy, I got to tell you, the team at NASA, hundreds of scientists and engineers in mission control, another 100 or 2 that train the astronauts, and then you have thousands of engineers and technicians that do the SLS, the Orion, and European service module. I mean, it's just a wonderful team that we've assembled here, and they all should be very proud tonight of what they've done.
Yeah, I mean, American ingenuity, there's nothing that we can't accomplish when we put our minds to it.
And thank you, Jesus, for
it felt like
all
a photo shoot. The
wonderful
was the
events you allow us
attention.
to participate in.
It got a lot of love over the last 10 days. What did we learn by taking that look around the dark side?
Well, you know, Jesse, I mean, technically this mission appears, they have to check out the heat shield, obviously, but it appears to be almost flawless. I mean, it's a wonderful mission. But, you know, I think one of the best things that happened during this mission were those pictures of the Earth, you know, from the moon. And it, of course, much like Apollo 8, and when Bill Anders took that famous picture in 1968 of the Earthrise, it really affects how people think on the Earth in terms of taking care of our planet and taking care of each other. You know, we're all here together, and we have to make it work.
Yeah, one of the astronauts we interviewed over the last week who'd been up there and had that same vantage point said, it's a strange feeling because you feel incredibly small, but at the same time, you feel incredibly large looking down at Earth like that. It's you know, the paradox there, it's almost existential. It goes beyond words.
Yeah, I mean, just flying at low Earth orbit is an amazing experience to watch the world go by. But when you can back away that far and see the whole Earth, you know, in one eye shot, it really is a feeling that's like no other.
Well, I don't know if am I going to have that feeling? I think I'm going to stay right here in New York. This is where I do my job. I'll let you well-trained astronauts and space cadets take it to the next level. Thank you so much, Terry, for joining us. What a great day.
Great to be with you, Jesse. Thank you.
You too. Jeff Williams, former NASA astronaut. Your thoughts on this beautiful moment?
Hey, Jesse, how you doing? Great to be with you. Oh, this is an amazing moment. Of course, I know these guys very well. I was in the program well before they got there. I helped get them started, get them ready for the first flight or whatnot. So now seeing them do this amazing mission and do it flawlessly and do it so well. I mean, they just came across so well as a team and as representatives for NASA. It's so everybody's rightfully very happy right now.
Yeah, we're looking at this FASPA making a pretty close pass of the capsule. You saw how they had to adjust the re-entry. Artemis 1 came in at a different type of clip. They decided to go at a different angle and a lot faster. Explain that.
Well, it's a trade-off between the heating of it, the drag that you get in based on the angle that you come in. And Artemis 1 was a test flight, and you learn things from test flights and you make adjustments from the results, and that's all that they did, just to optimize the entry and increase the margins for the thermal heat shield. So it's as simple as that. And we learn something from every mission, and we'll make adjustments continually as appropriate.
And we've just learned that they've reestablished communications, so the phone is now working. It's either the phone or the toilet, it's always something. But they're going to do one last check, and then they're going to extract these guys and maybe get them a real meal. I mean, the menu, not what you'd expect. Is this something that everybody laughs about at NASA, what they're going to eat?
Yeah, it always struck me odd as everybody was always interested in what you're going to eat when you get back, and I always got that question before I came back, and my answer was whatever my wife wanted to prepare for me was fine with me.
I mean, you can't have a drink, I guess, when you're on the other side of the moon, but I'm sure everybody's going to have maybe a little champagne when they get back. The process when you do undergo the medical evaluation, what are they looking for? What kind of effects on the human body does 10 days in space have?
10 days isn't too bad. My first flight was 10 days long, and you have to get your land legs back, literally, but it comes back within a few hours or so, and definitely recover within a few days. But 3 of those folks had 6-month or longer flights too. Christina up to almost a year. That takes a little bit longer. That takes about 6 weeks to fully recover from, in terms of muscle coordination, etc.
All right, we're going to dip back into the NASA live feed. There could be some dead air, but let's just marinate in it. Go. So far, so good. Everyone is in very good spirits. Let's bring in Robert Zubrin as a aerospace engineer and advocate for human exploration on Mars. What a great day. What are you feeling?
Okay, very good. Thank you.
And it's really great to see NASA finally getting its mojo back, because that really is the significance of this. From a technical point of view, okay, yes, this is the first time we've gone beyond Earth orbit since 1972. But, you know, I was 17 when I saw us land on the moon. Okay, and here I am 74, I'm seeing us do a flyby, which is a lesser accomplishment. But the key thing here is recovering the spirit of being willing to do things like this. And I give Isaacman a lot of credit for this, of getting this program moving, because this program, Artemis, frankly, has been a mess. Because unlike Apollo, which the vehicles that they used in Apollo all came from a plan that was conceived of rationally, he's trying to get back to the moon using a bunch of stuff that has been developed separately and don't really fit together. Everything in Apollo fit together because they were all designed to plan. Here you had 5 separate programs designing 5 different primary flight systems individually because they each had their own supporters. He's got to put this together. Now, he's got some pretty big shoes to fill, but, you know, based on this, I say he's on the right path. I think he's going to be able to do it.
So do you think we'll have a moon base in when? A year, 2 years, 4, when?
Well, he's going to have to really perform if he's going to get a human moon landing in 2028, which is what he's hoping to do. I think he can do it, but it's a challenge. This is a tough task before him. And also the other thing we had in Apollo is that we had the political class, the White House, the Congress, they were all pulling together. They weren't having people going off in all different directions and, trying to kill each other. And here right now, of course, this is not the situation we have in the country more broadly, and even within the space program. Even as we're pushing towards the moon here, you've got a bunch of people in the basement of the White House that are trying to destroy the NASA space science program. They're actually cutting NASA's budget by 25%, even as he's trying to go forward. And furthermore, they're cutting the budget of frankly, the most productive part of NASA, which is the Space Science Directorate, which is the people who do the space telescopes, the Mars rovers, the probes to Saturn. They're cutting that by 50%. And that's one of the jewels in NASA's crown. It's one of the jewels in America's crown, and they're wrecking it. During Apollo, at the same time we had the Apollo reaching for the moon, we were sending our first probes to Venus and Mars, and even Pioneer Jupiter. And so we've got to pull this thing together, because otherwise this is going to be, yes, an impressive accomplishment, but it's not going to get us to the moon, and it certainly won't get us to Mars if this thing falls apart because we can't get our act together.
Well, I think we will get it together, Robert. I wrote a book about that. Not a plug, but it just fell into my lap. But thank you for joining us. And this has inspired a lot of people, and if they need the funding, I'm sure they'll get it. We appreciate you joining us. Thank you. Jasmine Mobelli is a NASA astronaut. So, a lot of talk about the astronauts. What's it like in mission control? I'm sitting here in the studio freaking out. I mean, they must have been going nuts.
Yeah, Jesse, there's a lot of celebration. I was there at launch on April 1st, and you're celebrating them, but you haven't brought our friends back home yet. So now that they're safely splashed down back on planet Earth, there's still work to be done, but everyone's, you can have a sigh of relief and celebrate this amazing mission that we've just accomplished.
Oh, it's so amazing. And they're about to get this big floaty out. They call it the front porch. And I guess, what are they going to open the top and then slide down and get their sea legs / land legs back and strap in and get up on the bird?
Yes, exactly. So, they've been tested for hypergulls before they open any hatches. They want to make sure there's nothing that's going to be hazardous to the crew, both the crew on the outside and the inside. And then, as you said, they'll open the hatch, inflate that front porch. The crew will exit the vehicle, and then they'll extract them using a helicopter. They got the Seahawks out there, and NASA's been working hand in hand with the U.S. Navy out on the USS Mirtha to bring them back onto the ship and bring the capsule back into the day as well.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's an amazing amount of collaboration between the Navy and NASA. While the Navy's busy in the Gulf. I mean, what can't we do? What a testament to the American spirit. Watching them descend, how nervous were you?
Yeah, I'll say I was watching it with several other folks from the astronaut office, and there's just these collective sighs of relief at these big milestones. As blackout's always a hard time for us at 6 minutes where you don't have comms. So coming out of blackout, when we got the voice comms from Reed Wiseman, the commander, you're like, yes. And then as the drogues deploy and then the main chutes deploy, and you see the phases of those, and once they're all fully inflated, there's a sigh of relief. And then, of course, when Commander Reed Wiseman called the splashdown, then we're all just cheering in there. So very excited.
Wow, and you can see these Navy divers get very close to the capsule. I mean, if you look very closely, it kind of looks like R2-D2. And so it looks like, and there's always mistakes, but you learn from mistakes, don't you?
Sure do. This was a great day. This is a beautiful day. I'm really, I'm really excited about what they did today. It just came off,
It came off perfectly, and you could hear the NASA commentators say they perfectly executed the descent, and they just absolutely nailed the landing. Could not have gone better. Just a slight hiccup with the phone, but we should be getting these guys out of there, and it does look like these seamen are starting to crack open the pod. I think there's about 40 of these guys in the water, all surrounding Orion and trying to get a handle on this thing and crack it open, make sure everything's okay before they do so.
Well, I did train on Apollo. I trained on Apollo to go to the first space station, and so I did all this kind of training, just what you see on the screen. I went all through those exercises.
Thank you so much, Hall of Famer. Story, it's been a real honor to have you on the show, and have a great night.
Thank you so much.
Florida Congressman Mike Herodopoulos is the chairman of the Space and Aeronautics Subcommittee. Right now we're looking at just a majestic image. They're now cracking open this pod, and hopefully we might be able to see these 4 crew members in the flesh for the first time in 10 days.
Absolute perfection, Jesse. What an amazing accomplishment. The United States, when they put their mind to it, can do anything. And I just was texting back and forth with Jared Isaacman, and he said, we are just getting started. It's a real success. It just shows that Donald Trump has put us back on the trajectory of making sure we are space dominant, and we're going to do amazing things first on the moon.
And thank you, President Donald Trump, for looking to the future.
Yeah, it's always been a part of the American spirit, manifest destiny, pushing the boundaries of science and nature, and we've done it again. And it should inspire the whole country, the whole world, and this is something we can all kind of put our arms around each other. And we usually don't always agree on much, but this day we do. And hopefully we can spot these guys come out of this shuttle any second now. We might even be seeing them crack open the front lobe of this pod as we speak. These guys must be exhausted.
I can only imagine after 10 days and all they've done, the furthest that ever astronauts ever gone before. And for once, all of America came together, starting last Wednesday at Kennedy Space Center. The district I represent, and people coming together. And never have we invested more in NASA.
Getting the bed ready.
To make sure that we win this space race. And with Donald Trump and now Jared Isaacman showing huge energy to make sure we are going to the next level. Again, this is the kind of mission that America needs to galvanize this country once again, unite us to show that America is the nation that leads the world.
All right, Congressman, thank you so much. So the side hatch just opened, and I wonder who's first out. Maybe they do rock, paper, scissors for it. Let's bring in engineer and former NASA astronaut Dan Tanney. Dan, this is the moment. This is the moment we've all been waiting for.
That's fantastic. Yeah, watching it happen. After a successful touchdown and a comm check, and then watching them bob up and down the water for 40 minutes, 45 minutes, I feel sorry for them after being in 0G for 10 days, and then when I landed on the shuttle after 10 days, 12 days, just walking around felt like the ground was shaking under me. And then I was on the space station for 4 months and came back, and it was really hard to adapt back to gravity. But nothing was moving when I was there. Sitting in a bobbing capsule on the water must be pretty uncomfortable for those guys. So I'm sure they're happy to get the hatch open and get out.
This might be the most uncomfortable part because there's 4 people in the pod, and they have 4 Navy divers who go in because each astronaut gets their own man to pull them out. So 8 people in what? What is the size of like a minivan?
It's pretty tight. Well, yeah, that's what they say. So I'm sure it's tight in there, but I'm sure they're happy to have those guys on board to help them unstrap and extracted.
I'm sure it smells beautiful.
Who knows? I'm sure it's fine.
Oh man, what a moment! So they go in, and the moment they meet these astronauts, what happens? This is the first contact they've had with other humans physically in 10 days. What are they now doing that they're in this capsule?
So I don't know for sure. I don't know the procedure, but basically what you do is they put eyeballs on the crew members, make sure they're fine, which sounds like they're great, and then you have to unstrap them. They're strapped in and they're hooked up to comm and oxygen. So it's a procedure to get unstrapped and get ready to come out. And so that's their job. And I'm sure that the divers and the crew members have met each other. I'm sure they've practiced this over and over. So I hope that it's like seeing some friends that are going to come in and help them get out.
What a greeting. The legs. How does this feel now? I mean, you're now getting hit with a ton of gravity, and you have to get on this little raft and get up in the sky. What's that like?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Being in zero G is really easy on your body, and you get used to it really quickly after a day or two. And then for this crew, pulling 4 Gs during the entry is going to be jarring. So from going from 0 to 4 Gs is pretty rough. And then when the parachutes come out, everything shakes like crazy. They hit the ocean, boom.
Well,
and
what an
now they're just
accomplishment,
bouncing
Dan.
around.
Thanks for joining us. Sean is going to take it from here, everybody. We love you.
All right, Jesse, yes, we love you too, and this is America Greatness on Display. Welcome to Hannity this Friday night. Artemis 2 and its 4 astronauts are officially back from the moon, splashing down, as we've been covering, in the Pacific Ocean after traveling farther in space than any human in history. And in mere moments, as you can see right there, these astronauts will triumphantly emerge from their capsule. Let's first check in tonight with Jonathan Seri. He is live at NASA's Johnson Space Center. He's in Houston, Texas tonight, where the astronauts are eventually headed. Jonathan, a lot of celebration there.
Yeah, Sean, there certainly is. This was a near flawless mission. Really, when you can joke about the toilet not working properly, you know that things are going extremely well. And even that, the toilet was working fine. It was the wastewater discharge system that wasn't working. And so they were told not to use the toilet. But clearly, everything else worked extremely well, so much so that shortly after launch, when they conducted the trans-lunar injection, that large burn that they did on the second day to put themselves on a path to the moon, it was so accurate that they were able to skip some of the course corrections during the trip, and really the big adjustments didn't happen until they were setting the course to the exact splashdown site. They landed right to the minute that they had predicted, 8:07 Eastern time, and now the astronauts are in the process of being recovered. The capsule safe and stabilized, and the order that these Navy and NASA crews will be moving the astronauts out of the capsule. They're going to start with mission specialist Christina Cook, followed by pilot Victor Glover, followed by Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen, and then finally the commander of the mission, NASA astronaut Reed Weissman, will come out. They'll be loaded onto a floating raft, and then from there they'll be hoisted into helicopters, a pair of helicopters that will take them to the nearby Navy ship, the USS John P. Murtha, and that will bring them back to shore, back to San Diego, and then most likely tomorrow sometime they'll be flown back to Johnson Space Center to be reunited with their families, some of those families watching from mission control during the whole process of re-entry, reunited with the families, and then they'll begin a relatively brief period of rehabilitation, reacclimating them to Earth's gravity. The rehab won't be nearly as long as someone who spent 6 months on the International Space Station, but even 10 days in space, you do need some rehab. But clearly a happy day, Sean, after a very successful moon mission.
All right, Jonathan, thank you for that report. Joining us now with more, NASA spokesperson Bethany Stevens is with us. Bethany, I think unlike most Americans, I'm just in awe. I have a telescope at home. I look at the moon often. I especially like when it's a full moon, and the unbelievable audacity and brilliance that it takes to look up there. We're going to go there. We're going to travel around there. We've landed there, and we're now on a path to do that once again and more. It takes my breath away. It's America exceptionalism at its best. But let's talk about what's happening now on the screen, because there is an initial medical check of the astronauts while they're in the capsule. They do face a number of health challenges upon re-entry and spending so long in microgravity, difficulty walking, extreme nausea, off-balance inner ear, decreased muscle and bone mass. Even after 2 weeks, muscle mass can fall by 20%. Tell us what they're gonna experience. What are the doctors on the ground in those ships looking for as they go in the capsule and as the astronauts leave?
We have a talented team of medical experts that will be evaluating these astronauts as they return home. As you mentioned, it's a historic mission. It's a testament to American ingenuity, and we have these doctors ready to make sure that our astronauts are safe while doing that. And I know President Trump just posted on social media his congratulations to those astronauts, saying that we're going to be doing this again. So this data is going to be incredibly valuable. It's the same reason that we take data before the mission, so that we can compare it to the data after the mission and ensure that our first and foremost priority of safety is taken care of.
You know, over the years, there have been so many inventions that have come out of our travels in space. Any particular that come to your mind that have benefited all of mankind?
Several. I mean, this mission is it's the ultimate test of all that we've learned over the past 50 plus years. Lots of technological innovations since Apollo 17 in 1972. That we're putting to the test here, sending astronauts farther than they have ever been before, and we're going to continue to do it, ultimately resulting in a moon base, starting construction early next year and landing man back on the moon in 2028.
Let me ask you, and let me first read, President Trump put out a truth that said, congratulations to the great, very talented crew of Artemis 2. The entire trip was spectacular, the landing was perfect, and as President of the United States, I could not be more proud. I look forward to seeing you all at the White House soon. We'll be doing it again, and then the next step, Mars, President Donald J. Trump. The thought of that is pretty amazing to me, and I'm sure it is to you as well.
Absolutely, and I mean, he is entirely right. As Administrator Isaacman just said on the recovery ship, this is just the beginning. 2027, we have Artemis 3. 2028, we have Artemis 4, where we land astronauts on the moon. This time, it's not for flags and footprints. This time, we're going back and we're going to stay, continue building that moon base, and that's going to be what ultimately gets us to Mars and delivers upon that promise by President Trump. We've seen his promises delivered on before. In his first administration, he established the Artemis program. Now we're seeing the first crewed mission of that go flawlessly. That incredible splashdown that we all just witnessed, we've captured the attention of the world, and we'll continue doing that.
NASA spokesperson Bethany Stevens is with us. We're going to dip in now to NASA. I think they're giving an explanation of what is actually going on inside of the capsule, but well, maybe not. We'll go to that in a minute. But joining us now, former NASA astronaut, former Deputy Administrator of NASA, Pamela Melroy. Pamela, let's get your initial thoughts. I think that I speak for a lot of people. I mean, there is so much danger associated with such a scientific endeavor as this, and you know, till the moment you get to that safe splashdown and you know that that crew is safe, you know, a lot of us are out here holding our breath, but this is something, there's so much redundancy and effort and engineering to go into this to ensure the ultimate safety for these astronauts.
Yeah, it really is still a stunning achievement. You're absolutely right that there's a lot of risk involved. I think it's important to put in context that what we did in Apollo was incredible, but we really didn't know how to routinely send people to space safely, and we did that on the space shuttle. And then we learned how to keep them alive for long periods of time and support them doing science from the space station. So all of those years of knowledge went into the precision and the testing and the safety of this vehicle. I mean, to me, what's astounding is just the level of precision, the fact that the burn was so perfect going out to the moon that there were no corrections necessary. I think it's a tribute to all of the people who have contributed to the space program, and that knowledge rolled up in this incredible mission.
You mentioned the burn, and we all observed that tonight. And again, well, at least in my case, I was holding my breath. And then you have a series of parachutes that are released, and then you want to make sure that the airspeed is perfect. It was perfect the entire time. It was a perfect splashdown. All of it has to go that way, although there are contingency plans, aren't there?
There are. Every single step of the way, there's a backup. What if, maybe an alternate way of, releasing a parachute, or every step of the way there's contingency plans. And the crew has been practicing and training for that for years now, as well as all of the mission control and the flight directors. So I think, but nobody's ever disappointed when it goes perfectly. It really was amazing.
Yeah, you're a former astronaut yourself, former deputy administrator of NASA. You served as a pilot on space shuttle missions. You've been through these programs yourself. What are these astronauts, as we watch them? I know they're getting their initial medical check. There are a number of health challenges that every astronaut faces because of microgravity. What's going on now, and how soon do you expect we'll see them get out of that capsule?
Yeah, hopefully it will be soon, but that's exactly correct. The body is an amazing thing. You adapt to this microgravity, zero gravity environment very quickly. And it's a vacation. It's a vacation for your muscles and your heart and your vestibular system. And so when you come back into gravity, everything kind of goes through sort of a reset. And you can have some really big balance issues, and sometimes orthostatic intolerance, where your blood pressure finds difficulties when you're standing or whatever. When I'm looking at this, I can't help thinking, in that capsule, I'm like, and they're rocking around a little bit, and that's something that can actually provoke your vestibular system into making you not feel very good. In fact, you could even be feeling sick. And it wouldn't surprise me if they were feeling a little seasick right now. But I do think, these are professionals. They know exactly what they need to be doing. They're going to hold their heads still. They're going to let the team come in, check on them, make sure they're feeling okay. If they need a little extra water to hydrate, which is not unusual, they'll take care of that. Even coming off the space shuttle, it took us a little while to feel good enough to walk off, and that's going to be the same thing here. They're just going to take their time.
All right, Pamela, we do appreciate you. Now, NASA did just update us. They said it is the water current, that is preventing them from moving as quickly as they would like with the extraction. Obviously, they're moving with the utmost care. Right now, inside of that capsule, you have 8 people inside, 4 Navy divers with medical training. Each are assigned an individual astronaut, making sure that they're comfortable, that they're feeling good. Amazing. I guess I know when I come back from vacation, and I'm not comparing my vacation to spending that time in space, but as Pamela was describing, it's different when you are out of gravity like this, and then you come back, and the health challenges, what they're checking for inside the capsule are issues like difficulty walking, possible nausea, off balance inner ear, decreased muscle and bone mass. That can happen, believe it or not, 2 weeks in space. You can have a muscle mass decline of 20%. Then you have this whole issue of spine elongation, and astronauts can find themselves slightly taller once they return home, and those changes can cause some back pain, some slipped discs. Those are things that they will be looking for immediately, and in further examination as they now readjust to being back on planet Earth. Anyway, joining us now with more NASA astronaut Matthew Dominic is with us. Matthew, you're an American test pilot. You were an astronaut. You had more than 1,600 hours of flight time, 28 aircraft, 400 carrier-assisted landings, 61 combat missions, almost 200 flight test career landings, and you were selected as a member of NASA Astronaut Group 22. You began your 2-year training, and you were the commander of SpaceX Crew 8 mission to the International Space Station. Now, you have a heck of a resume, so I think you have unique insight into what these guys are now going through in that capsule.
Yes, sir. I mean, it's an incredible feeling to come through the atmosphere at such speed. And in our capsule, we commanded the lights off on the inside so we could get the glow of the plasma coming through the windows to light up the cabin for us. And that feeling when you feel that little jolt, and the drogues come out, and then the mains come out, and you finally splash down, it is really, really hard to capture how excited you are inside.
Yeah, it is. To the extent that you have had your own missions and you've spoken to so many people that have been on these missions, when in fact you have a splash landing as we witnessed tonight with perfection. I mean, it was utter engineering perfection. But even so, that change, you know, spending all that time in microgravity, how real are those symptoms?
It's coming back, you know, I spent 235 days in the space station, and you get pretty adapted to living at 0G. It's really fun to wake up in the morning and commute, you know, 30, 40 feet to work by floating. So spending that time in the capsule, these folks, they've been up there for 10 days, they've seen the moon, they've come through at incredible velocities through the Earth's atmosphere and came to splashdown. So there's all kinds of emotions and feelings going on right now, and they're getting used to gravity again. And so they're, like Pam mentioned, they're being very careful moving their head and readapting to this 1G environment. And also they're bobbing in the ocean while they wait to get pulled out.
Would you describe, as Pamela did, zero gravity as being on vacation in a way, in terms of the lack of stress on your body? It doesn't sound exactly like a vacation to me, considering the importance and the danger and the mission involved here.
I mean, parts of it do feel like that. I think that her comment was about, you know, vacation for your muscles. What I found really cool is we work out every single day for 2.5 hours in the space station. So we're doing the equivalent of deadlifts and squats using resistive devices. And so you're able to work out really, really hard. And because your muscles don't get used the rest of the day, you can recover and do deadlifts and squats the very next day.
I mean, that's pretty spectacular in and of itself. If the only thing that went wrong in this entire mission is that the toilet gave them some problems, I would say that is about as successful as you can have, right?
I mean, just before I came on with you guys, we were in a room watching together with a bunch of other astronauts in the astronaut corps, just super excited that we accomplished this. We put 4 humans around the moon, and this is just one small step towards so many much bigger steps, right? Next year, we're going to launch another mission, 2028, 2 missions to the moon with landers. This is America at its finest.
It really is. By the way, I think, knowing Donald Trump as well as I do, I would not want to be the company that designed that toilet. There might be some blowback at this point.
The toilet did not have blowback, sir.
That's a great line. I wish I'd thought of it. You know, I just think of this, you know, there are so few things in the environment, the political environment in the country, but I can't think of a single American that didn't watch and is not watching all of this with a great sense of pride, of such a miraculous achievement. The incredible engineering that goes into this, all of the work, all of the people, all of the design, and when it comes to perfection, like we've been witnessing all night, and as we await these astronauts leaving that capsule, it just leaves the country with a sense of pride. I don't know why we ever slowed down our space program to begin with.
Sure, I mean, I've, you know, in the course of my military career, 21 years, I've met people around the world, and there's people I haven't talked to in years and years, and they've all been reaching out over the past week. Some people told my wife the other day, they said, hey, I didn't even know we were going to the moon, and now I'm glued to the TV for 11 days, and every day I'm checking in. I want to check in on my astronauts. I want to see what they're doing. What are they doing right now? And it's such a heartwarming thing when we all come together and do amazing things as humanity. So this has been super captivating, and it's just a really good story.
It really is a great story. Matthew, we really appreciate your heroism, all that you've done for your country. I can hear the great pride in your voice and the celebration in your voice as well at this incredible historic achievement. Thank you so much for being with us. Let me go back to what NASA just announced, that it is the water current that is preventing the astronauts from moving as quickly as they would like to move. And obviously the crew's on the ground. There are 8 people now inside of that capsule, 4 Navy divers. All of them have medical training. Each one is assigned an individual astronaut. Now, we also got an update from the undersea medical officer. He is reporting at this hour, at this moment, that all 4 astronauts are green. What that means is they are feeling great. They are happy to be home. They are ready to be extracted as soon as possible. I can't imagine. It looks kind of small. I'm sure it's probably cramped in there. And they will be as quickly as possible. Obviously, if that last part of the mission has to be safe. We expect to see the astronauts being extracted probably in the next couple of minutes. Helicopters are the safer way to get astronauts on board. It's been an hour and 10 minutes now since splashdown. Anyway, here with more reaction, we have Apollo 16 lunar module pilot and the 10th man to walk on the moon, Charlie Duke. Well, there are not many people on this earth that get to say that they walked on the moon. What was that like, sir?
Well, it was, of course, exciting. We were having so much fun. We didn't want to come back. But Houston said, 3 days, guys, it's time to get back in. It's time to come home. And I can remember our splashdown, seeing us bobbing around like that. We had bigger seas, and so it was going back and forth. We actually ended up upside down, which was called Stable 2, after we splashed down. But then we blew up the balloons like they have and flipped us back over. And then they put the flotation collar on, and we got out. I noticed that after 11 days in a spacecraft like that, it's not very pleasant smell inside. So when I got back inside after the thing got onto the ship and to retrieve some of my stuff, it was almost overwhelming, the smell inside that spacecraft, and we'd been in there and we didn't even know it. Yeah. Oh, we had a great time. This brings back a lot of memories right here.
Charlie, what about that? I assume the smell would be from the heat and re-entry. Is that where it came from?
Well, mostly body odor, I guess. And you know, you're in a spacecraft for all this time, and we didn't have any waste. We had waste management. We had a bag for waste, and we had towels to wipe down on, and that we used. But there was really no way to really get clean in an Apollo, and similar size as this, and so they're probably having the same problem, but they have a toilet and things like that. And anyway, well, there's some really improvements.
They kind of had a toilet, right? I mean, I'm not sure if the toilet was working well.
Well, we had a bag, and the bag always worked. And we had urine collection devices that we used, and so things you manage on board like this in a little spacecraft like that, and things you get used to it, and you're just happy to have the opportunity and excited about being on this adventure that they've just experienced, and this brings back so many memories, seeing the flotation collar being put on, and the Navy SEALs, or frogmen we call them, come up and knock on the door and let us out, and helicopter picked us up, and we went back to the ship.
You know, this is probably the dumbest and most irrelevant question that you've ever been asked before, and I've got to apologize in advance for even asking it. But you talked about body odor. Does that imply that you didn't smell it at zero gravity?
No, you didn't. Inside, everybody is just there. But I got outside when we climbed out. I went in and they flew us back to the ship, and then they picked up the spacecraft and pulled it on board the hangar deck. And after I got into my stateroom, I took a shower and got all cleaned up, shaved and everything, put on fresh uniform, a flight suit, and then I got back and went back to collect my stuff. And I tried to climb in that spacecraft, and it was almost unbearable, the odor coming from that spacecraft. So you don't realize it while you're in there, But you get out and you get fresh air and then try to get back in, and then the odor comes to you.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Can
it
you
wasn't a big
explain?
deal.
No, well, obviously, I'm sure you're glad you landed safely. I mean, every one of these missions, you know, I know for me as an observer, I'm holding my breath and saying prayers and hoping that there's a safe landing here. Let me explain what we're about to see. I believe what we're about to see. Maybe you can explain this for us, but it's been about an hour and 15 minutes since splashdown, and the stabilization collar is out, and that means it would likely be lifting the spacecraft off of the water so it doesn't sway so much in the water. I'm kind of getting the impression maybe they didn't have that protocol in effect when you went on your mission, but teams are about to connect the front porch to the stabilization collar, and then we're going to see the astronauts after that point come out. Can you explain that process?
Yeah, well, it's a little bit different than what we did. They put a flotation collar around the spacecraft, so it wouldn't. When we open a hatch, the seas, we had rough seas. This is calm seas compared to what we had, and so the thing was bobbing back and forth. And once you open a hatch, you didn't want it to fill up with water with the seas coming in.
Right.
So they put a flotation collar around it. They opened a hatch. We got in a raft and stabilized there, and then they picked us up in a helicopter and flew us back to the ship, recovery ship. And then the crew that was left out there managed the spacecraft, and they eventually got it back on board as the ship came alongside. So it's very similar to what we did, but just slightly different procedures.
Now, you were the 10th person that actually, the youngest person to ever walk on the moon at the time. And I would assume being younger probably helped you. Is that a fair statement?
Not really. When I say NASA made a big deal of this, but it wasn't a big deal. I was just 4 months younger than the next guy, Jack Schmidt, and so the training was what really got us really in shape. And we had John Young was in his 40s when we landed on the moon, and he was in great shape. We just trained and exercised and worked out, and we had practiced all of this stuff. We floated in a spacecraft and practiced getting out and all that stuff in the Gulf of Mexico before we actually did it for real. So we were familiar with everything, and it was just second nature to us, I guess, really. We knew what to do. We knew what was going to happen. And so we got back on board the helicopter, changed into a new flight suit, and then got welcomed back on board the aircraft carrier. And then they said, well, you guys go take a shower. And so we got cleaned up. And by this time, they had the spacecraft back on board. And that's when I went in to retrieve some of my equipment. And that's when the odor was overwhelming.
Anyway, Charlie Duke, what an amazing mission you were on, and we really appreciate your time and sharing your experience with us.
Sure.
It looks like they are about to come out. The astronauts are about to exit the capsule. They're lowering the harness down from the helicopter. Now, teams had just moments ago, not that long ago, connected the front porch to the stabilization collar, and then this is when we expect that the astronauts will now come out one by one, and that will lift, now that obviously the health check has gone through, it's taken a little bit longer than they initially understood. I want to repeat that NASA reported from their undersea medical officer that all 4 astronauts, their term is green, meaning that they're all feeling great, they're all happy to be home, they're all ready to get out of that capsule and extract it as soon as possible. It looks like we're moments away from seeing that. Each diver had their own medically trained Navy diver in there with them, obviously checking for conditions that you expect after being so long in microgravity and that would be difficulty walking, some nausea, off balance inner ear. You can have spine elongation. That's something else that the medical professionals look for, where they might be slightly taller, believe it or not, once they return home. At 6 foot and getting older, I think I could use a little elongation myself at some point. But it's all phenomenal stuff. But it looks like they're about to come out. We're going to watch it as closely as these images will show us. Joining us now, former NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine is with us. Jim, thank you for being with us. Looks like they're about to come out from my perspective. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Sean, they are. And I want to be clear. It has taken a little time to get out of this capsule, but this should not, we should not dismiss the gravity of what just happened. We just had a pinpoint landing. When you think about in geography, we pinpoint landing in geography, but also in timing to the second. This was a stunning achievement. And I want to be really clear about where we were before President Trump became president. We had zero moon mission. And his very first space policy directive said, go to the moon and go sustainably. In other words, stay on the surface of the moon. Use the resources of the moon. That's in Space Policy Directive 1. And to be clear, we talk about Greenland a lot. We talk about natural resources, the geographical strategic value of it. The moon is that times 1,000, probably way more than 1,000. The Earth has a very active geology, a very active atmosphere and hydrosphere. When we talk about rare earth metals, rare earth minerals, these are asteroid impacts from billions of years ago. And when you find them on Earth, they're in very trace amounts. That is not true of the moon. It doesn't have an atmosphere. It doesn't have an active geology. Anything that impacted the moon billions of years ago is today right where it was billions of years ago. We need to go to the moon. We need to beat China to the moon. We need to make sure that the United States of America has the budgets to achieve the outcomes that are in America's interest. This is American greatness, and we're seeing it with our own eyes right now, and we need to double down and triple down on it.
I agree with that, and the plan is that we will be back on the moon, walking on that moon in 2028, and then off to Mars. Your thoughts on that?
100%. The president just tweeted that the next step is Mars, and that is absolutely where we're going. We have to get to the surface of the moon. We need to set up the base, and we need to go on to Mars. That is what American greatness is all about. I also want to be clear. Today, NASA's budget is 0.3% of the federal budget. Now, President Trump, to his credit, when he gave us Space Policy Directive 1, he also increased our budget. He said, look, there was grass growing out of the runways at Kennedy Space Center. We need to get it fixed. We need to go to the moon. We need to go on to Mars. We've done all of that. Now we need to say, okay, that 0.3% of the federal budget, it used to be 5% in the Apollo era. We just had Charlie Duke on. Charlie Duke said, you know, that era of space flight was amazing. Boy, if we're going to go to Mars, we need to get this budget up. And President Trump did it once. I think we're going to do it again. If we can't get behind this mission at this point, thanks to his leadership, boy, nothing's going to do it. This is a great day for America, and it's a demonstration of American greatness.
Jim, I want you to look. I just saw. It looks like the first crew member has now exited the capsule. The first crew member is now out of that capsule. Pretty amazing. And the challenges of going from zero gravity back into the Earth's orbit, it is challenging on the body physically, is it not?
Yeah, it is. Now I want to be clear. I'm certainly not a NASA astronaut, but I have the opportunity to work with a lot of them, and different people respond in different ways. I think for this particular mission, recovery will be very quick because it was only 10 days. But when our astronauts go to the International Space Station and they're there for a period of 9 months to even up to a year, sometimes it's a lot harder to recover from the amount of atrophy from the muscles and the bone and everything else. The vestibular system, of course, takes a hit, and all that takes time to recover. I'm very hopeful that.
By the way, let me, Jim, if I may, I don't want to interrupt you, and I want to get some more thoughts from you. The second crew member is now out of the capsule, but I want to go back to something you talked about earlier. The International Space Station, the Artemis program, is the first manned lunar program within NASA since 1972. It's hard to believe. The goal is to land a crew on the moon in 28. China is planning such a mission in 2030. Humans have traveled further into space than ever before in the history of civilization. I'm sure that they learned a lot that we'll be learning more about in the days to come. This is all pretty exciting stuff. And then, as the president said, it's on to Mars. And the one thing I've learned about President Trump, when he says it, he means it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And here's what we now know. We can do it. We just did it. President Trump said in his first term, we're going to go to the moon, and then we're going to go on to Mars. We now know we can beat China to the moon. We just did it. Now what we need is a landing system. We need to be able to land on the surface of the moon, and we need to be able to fly longer distances to Mars. All of that is definitely in the cards. And I will tell you, it's important, and I can't stress this enough. I'm a budget hawk. I served in Congress. I voted against all kinds of budget bills. But in this particular case, for the greatness of America, we need to take NASA's budget and we need to increase it. Now is the time to do it.
The third crew member is out, Jim Bridenstine. We really appreciate you being with us tonight and your insight and expertise, and also inspiration that this is important and it's not as expensive as maybe some people say, but the benefits that we've gotten from past missions are numerous and probably worthy of an entire show one night. Anyway, we appreciate you, Jim, being with us. We're going to go back to NASA spokesperson Bethany Stevens. We now have, from what I can see, 3 of the 4 crew members are out of the capsule, Bethany. What can you tell us?
So those first three crew members are Christina, mission specialist, Victor, the pilot, and Jeremy, our Canadian mission specialist. Left in the capsule should be the commander, Reed Weissman. This means that we're making progress. Everything is going according to plan. This mission has been flawless thus far. I know that Administrator Bridenstine just mentioned that it's taken us a little while to get them out of the water. We're hoping to extract Reed soon and send them well on their way to that recovery ship and hopefully get them home to their families here soon.
Bethany, I can tell you right now, all 4 crew members have left the capsule. They are now in that raft adjacent to the capsule. All 4 crew members have been extracted, it looks like safely, obviously surrounded by medical staff, medical crew. They got a medical check. Apparently, thumbs up on all 4 in terms of their medical condition.
Fantastic. That's exactly what we train for. That's what we hope for when we send our astronauts up on these missions. We hope for this safe splashdown and landing, and we will now get them over to those medical officers to do those checks.
You know, you said something earlier, and as I've been watching all night, and America's been watching all night, you used the word and the description and the adjective flawless. This was flawless. The timing was flawless. The re-entry, flawless. The splashdown, flawless. It really is a tribute to so many, both, to the astronauts that bravely take on these missions, number one, but all the way down to the engineers and the people involved in building these incredible machines that are able to successfully do all of this. I'm looking right now, it looks like NASA headquarters, and I see a lot of people hugging and high-fiving and obviously a celebration, because every single person, whatever part they play in this process, they're all invested. They've invested their lives into making sure that they get up, they accomplish their mission, and we get them home safely as they are now.
Yeah, and that's mission control that you're seeing. Those are the people who have been controlling this mission day and night, 24 hours, dedicating their lives to making sure that these astronauts return home safely and that we execute this mission well. It took us years to get to this point, and there's a reason for that. We wanted to execute with perfection. Now we have an agenda set forth for us. We've heard the president talk about it. We've heard the administrator of NASA talk about it. We're going to be doing these missions on a yearly cadence. We're not going to have the luxury of having 3 years to get these out. We're in the middle of a second space race with China. They're a great geopolitical adversary, and we're going to continue executing these with excellence on a tighter timeline.
I'm very competitive. I want to beat China at everything. I want to beat Russia at everything. I want to beat all of our geopolitical foes at everything. And I say it proudly. If you're just joining us, all 4 Artemis 2 crew members are now out of the capsule. Why don't we talk a little bit, Bethany, about what's going to happen next? There is a procedure to hoist the astronauts up to Navy helicopters, and that process will begin very shortly, correct?
Yes, they're going to hoist those astronauts up off of those inflatable rafts up to the helicopter, take them over to the Navy's USS Bertha, where they will be greeted by the crew members aboard, including Administrator Isaacman. They're going to be checked out by medical officers and continue that process. And then that will lead us into tomorrow, where we're going to return them home to Houston, Texas, where their families are, where Mission Control is, where they've trained for this mission, bring them back home safely and reunite them with their families, where they can tell us everything about what they have learned on this historic mission.
Well, Bethany, congratulations to all on a job well done. Every person, to the last person that has been a part of this success, they deserve our great gratitude. Anyway, we really appreciate your insight, spending time with us. Bethany, thank you. Joining us now, former NASA Chief Astronaut Robert Hoot Gibson. I just like the name. It's great to have you, Robert. Thank you for being with us. You have an incredible history as well. Former naval officer, aviator, test pilot. You're an engineer in your own right. And as a retired NASA astronaut, you served also as the chief of the astronaut office for a number of years. And you flew a number of missions, 5 in particular. So now we're at the last phase of splashdown to health checks, to getting these astronauts hoisted up to onto the helicopter. Walk us through the rest of the process from here.
This has been so very exciting. Not just to me, but I think to the country as a whole. Before we came on camera here, we were in the hotel lobby and people were cheering and applauding and clapping. This is classic. Welcome to America. This is classic. This is what we do as Americans. The process from here now is, as was mentioned a few moments ago, the astronauts will be lifted by helicopter and taken to the USS John Murtha, and the capsule will be picked up and brought to that same recovery vessel. And after that, with plenty more medical exams and plenty more medical checks, we always look forward to that. Every time I came back from a mission, the doctors and the needles would be waiting for us. But it was always such a big thrill to be back home again. And that's what this crew is living. They've lived something so much greater than anything I ever got to do. I got to spend altogether 36 and a half days in space, but I never got to fly around the moon. I was so very envious watching them and so very thrilled for how brilliantly this mission has been executed.
You know, considering your biography, which I have in front of me, I'm kind of laughing and chuckling a little bit because you've done a lot of impressive things in the course of your life and your career. You know, as I hear the enthusiasm by which you're speaking, it's infectious enthusiasm. And it just kind of makes me feel like when we say the land of the free and the home of the brave, they're not just words, are they? This is America at its best. This is American exceptionalism. This is dreaming big and achieving big dreams. This is, you know, an effort that transcends, you know, all division in every way imaginable. It's so inspiring, and every single aspect of this mission, from launch to splashdown to recovery to making sure they're healthy and that they're okay, and now extracting them. Every aspect of what they do is dangerous. None of this is easy, is it?
That's correct. That's correct. And one of the speeches I would make to my crew members every time I got assigned to a new crew as the commander, I would say, okay, this is not easy, but we are going to make this look easy. And that's what we have done. That's what the NASA team has done. And we astronauts have always tried to go out of our way to recognize the people that make this all happen. Sure, the focus is always on the very few astronauts, but look at the thousands of people that have put their hearts and souls into this. to make this mission a success.
Well, I was going to film.
You know, you can see that at Command Center. You can see how invested, and I mentioned this to Bethany earlier, how invested every person in the program is to this success that they have all collectively achieved here. And they put their heart and their soul into it, and it all means something. And I'm kind of chuckling a little bit to hear you say you're jealous you didn't get to go on that mission, but you got to do all these other missions. Tell us about your missions.
Well, yes, John, I got to fly 5 times aboard the space shuttle. My first mission as the co-pilot, we didn't call him the co-pilot, it was called the pilot, because the 2 pilots on board are the commander and the pilot, and we always felt like it was because astronauts were such prima donnas, nobody wanted to be called co-pilot, so it was commander and pilot. But I flew as pilot aboard Challenger. On my first mission, it was the 10th launch of the space shuttle, and what's interesting, Artemis 2, the crew discovered some things that we were discovering early in the space shuttle program. The temperature control system required some fine-tuning, as did the space toilet. And so what we're seeing with Artemis was really nothing new. It's something that we see anytime we're in a new vehicle development. So that was my first mission, and then my second mission I was the commander, and then the other 3 missions, so 4 missions altogether, I was the mission commander.
Yeah, pretty amazing. But you've experienced zero gravity, and then you've experienced returning to gravity. What's that like?
Well, there's a learning curve with it, Sean. The first time I came back from space, I had a little bit of trouble readapting, and I found that I had to keep my head pretty much straight up and down. If I leaned my head to the side, I wanted to fall over that way. And so I had to focus for a while on keeping my head nice and straight up and down. That lasted for about 2 hours or so after I got back. But each time you flew, you readapted back to gravity better and more quickly each time. And my final mission was the first docking done by a space shuttle, and it was with the Russian space station Mir. And I remember climbing out of Atlantis after that mission. In my spacesuit, I was able to jump up and down at the end of it because I had learned all those other 4 times going to space what the readaptation was going to look like and what it was going to feel like. So there is a learning curve, and we had an experienced crew and a Canadian astronaut going beyond Earth's orbit for the very first time. And what a spectacular success this mission was. The launch was right on the money every bit of the way. The re-entry and the approach right through entry interface all the way down to touchdown was right along the lines that it was supposed to be on. And what a tribute to NASA and to the American people for being able to pull all this together.
And really is a tribute to all involved, and we can't give enough credit to them. And also, you know, it's interesting, you said as a commander, you would be able to share your previous experience with them. For example, upon re-entry, you learned after the first time that if you did this and this, you had an easier time adjusting. That's invaluable information to pass on to a new astronaut, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it certainly is. And one of the things that we would tell new astronauts, and I took a number of new astronauts to space on my 4 missions that I flew as commander. One of the helpful hints was during the reentry, don't be moving your head around a lot. Don't be tilting your head forward or back. Try to keep your head pretty much straight. Now you've got to be able to monitor the instruments and monitor what's going on, but don't engage in excessive head movements, because you have an internal gyro. All of us have an internal gyroscope, and it can get spun up and tilted if you aren't careful. And that's especially true coming back from being weightless for 8 and 10 days.
Yeah, by the way, Robert, as we are looking right now, the Navy helicopter is flying over where the 4 astronauts are. You can see that they're lowering somebody from the helicopter. Obviously, it looks like they're going to extract the first astronaut, and that astronaut will be pulled up, put on the helicopter, and then they'll follow through with the other 4. That too is dangerous and amazing as well, which is what our military does so often.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, thank you.
It is, and our military is the military of the world, and we always counted on our rescue personnel so very much, and trusted them, and knew that our lives were in their hands, and our lives were in good hands with our military.
Yeah, well, it looks like the first extraction will be taking place. All 4 astronauts, you can see them right there. They're at the front part of the screen, it looks like right now. And, well, there you go, one by one. You will see them airlifted onto that helicopter and on their way eventually back home. But first, obviously, a lot of medical treatment will be, and tests will be given to all of them. As we watch this, let's bring back our friend, our colleague, Jonathan Seri, who is live at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, where they eventually will be headed. Well, actually, Jonathan, I can see it right now. The first astronaut is being pulled up on and hoisted up into the helicopter.
Yes, that first astronaut is Christina Cook, the mission specialist, American mission specialist, NASA astronaut. And she'll be followed by Jeremy Hansen, our Canadian neighbor, who also joined this mission. And then Victor Glover, the pilot. And last but not least, the mission commander, Commander Weissman, will be hoisted. These helicopters, and I believe it's 2 of them, will be carrying the 4 astronauts to the ship for medical checkups, and provided that everything is fine, when the ship brings them into San Diego, they will catch a flight back to Houston to be reunited with family and friends here at the Johnson Space Center. And they will have a brief rehab period, not as long as astronauts who've spent 6 months to a year or even more on the International Space Station. But even being away from Earth's gravity for 10 days has an effect on your body, so they will go through some rehab, light rehab perhaps, to get reacclimated to Earth. But everything seems to be great. This mission, other than the plumbing system, this mission went beautifully, a near perfect mission, and it looks like the recovery is going extremely well as well.
It looks like a second astronaut now has been hoisted onto the helicopter as well. You mentioned that the first one was Christina Koch, went up first.
Christina Koch, yep.
Yeah, she went up first.
Yeah, the second one should be Jeremy Hansen, the Canadian, and then followed by Victor Glover, and then the last one that we'll see hoisted up is Reed Weissman, the mission commander.
The mission commander is always last. Fascinating to watch. And
that's right.
They'll be with you. I guess they'll be in Houston sometime tomorrow.
Yeah, they're expected to fly here sometime tomorrow. They'll be reunited with family. They may, depending on their condition, they may make a statement, but it'll be longer before they hold a news conference or do one-on-one interviews. That will be something that happens over the next 2 weeks, but really dependent on how they're feeling, how long rehab takes. But we will hear from them. This is an incredibly articulate group. They were very inspiring leading up to the mission, but especially when they were on that spacecraft and just taking in the views of Earth, seeing Earth from such a distance. It had a very, very genuine impact on them. You could feel it. They bonded with each other even more. I mean, I didn't think this could be a more tight-knit crew before they launched, but really during this mission, they came together even more. I think these people will be best of friends for the rest of their lives.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. There is a brother and sisterhood here that few can really understand. It looks like now the third astronaut, this would be Victor Glover, who is now being hoisted into the helicopter, and then the mission commander, Reed Reisman, will be the last person to be hoisted into that helicopter. Jonathan Surrey, thank you for all of your coverage tonight. We appreciate you being with us. Here now, retired NASA astronaut training manager Homer Hickam is with us. Homer, great to have you. As you watch now, 3 of the 4 have been airlifted to safety. They'll come back for the mission commander, Reed Wiseman in just a minute. A pretty amazing moment. You know, earlier Bethany used the term flawless. Every aspect of this, from takeoff to splashdown, and now to hoisting these astronauts to safety, has been flawless. Pretty amazing to watch it all in real time.
Not least.
Yeah, it is, Sean. And by the way, greetings from Huntsville, Alabama, Rocket City, USA, which
Rocket City, you know what?
Very well.
I lived there for a couple of years. Yeah, I caused a lot of trouble
on the radio.
When I was there, and I caused quite a bit of trouble when I was on the air there. But I'm very grateful.
We love you. And by the way, you know, Huntsville is the home of Space Camp, and Christina Cook, as a kid, went to Space Camp 5 times. And the new NASA administrator, Jared Isaacman, is also a graduate of Space Camp, and we're building a big new Inspiration 4 training facility that Jared has nicely funded. So we're really excited here in Huntsville about this whole thing. It did go pretty much flawlessly. Pretty amazing that it did. It was a test flight all the way. Okay, we proved out a lot of stuff. The next thing we're going to do is to fly this Ryan into low Earth orbit to test whatever human landing system that we get, either built by SpaceX or Blue Origin. We'll see who wins that contest. And then we're going to go back to the moon, and we're going to stay on the moon. We're going to build an outpost there, and we're just going to go mine the blame thing. What we think, and I'm just echoing Jim Bridenstine here, what we think is that the resources on the moon are going to be about 100 times more than what we get out of Greenland or any place on the Earth, and it will cause the economy of the Earth to expand as a result. So we're really looking forward to that, and I know that we're going to be a spacefaring nation when we have our first roughneck miner up on the moon.
It really is amazing. Now, if you're just joining us, all 4 crew members now are being transported to the USS John P. Murtha. They're minutes away from landing on the flight deck to safety. You mentioned Huntsville, Alabama, and I have such a warm place in my heart for Huntsville. And it is Rocket City, USA, and the home of Redstone Arsenal. And I got to know so many people. You know, when President Trump first got into office in his first term, it was in January of his first term when he laid out his vision and idea that we're going back. It's been way too long. I mean, it's 1972. You know, that's a long time. We've not been there.
Yeah, I was just back from Vietnam when Apollo 11 landed, so I'm kind of a senior citizen about this whole thing. Vice President Pence came to Huntsville actually in 2019 and announced the program that turned into Artemis. Jim Bridenstine took that and ran with it, and now Jared Isaacman is giving it more focus about going back to the moon, and this time staying there. So Marshall Space Flight Center is in charge of the launch vehicles. And of course, again, we have the world famous Space Camp USA here. And we hope, I mean, this has been a wonderful crew. They have, I mean, I think the whole world has fallen in love with this really adorable crew. And I hope that what it will do is to cause a lot of young people to think, hey, you know, I need to go to space camp. I need to be part of this great new space economy that's about to unfold.
Let me get your thoughts on the idea, and I know that we plan to be back on the moon in 2028, and we're going to have a crew land on the moon in 2028. Then the president is talking very, very ambitiously about Mars. When you think about that as an achievement, what goes through your mind?
Well, I have to be honest with you on Mars. So I believe that the moon is going to take up the next couple of decades once we get up there and see all the resources that we need to develop. Robots are doing great on Mars. Eventually we will go. But to my mind, the moon is West Virginia and Mars is Antarctica. So we need to stay in West Virginia for a while and mine some resources up there and develop better vehicles, much faster vehicles, bigger vehicles if we're going to go to Mars.
And what are we looking for when we are on the moon?
How they can land those things.
The moon is, well, we know that the moon is covered with helium-3. Helium-3 is a product of the solar wind. So over millennia, that solar wind has deposited this isotope on the moon that we don't get on Earth because we have an atmosphere and a magnetosphere that keeps it from getting here. Helium-3 turns out to be the perfect fuel for fusion reactors. And fusion reactors, I think they'll be online in a few years, and we'll be up there mining helium-3 to do that. Besides that, there's rare earth materials on the moon. Jim Bridenstine mentioned that beneath every crater is actually an asteroid, and those asteroids are made out of a lot of different materials that we can use, titanium, and probably gold even. So the economy that we're...
Wait, did you say gold?
I think
I want to go. I think they could send me.
I'd like to go.
I'd like to go. Oh, maybe we'll go together. I think that'd be great. It has been a phenomenal thing. By the way, all four astronauts have landed safely on the USS John P. Murtha, and they're now on the flight deck, and they'll go through extensive, exhaustive medical training. Anyway, Homer Hickam, thank you so much for being with us. Honestly, I could go for another 5 hours. I could watch this all day, all night, every day. That's all the time we have left. Please stay with the Fox News Channel for continuing coverage of tonight's breaking news.
Good evening, I'm Trace Gallagher. It's 10 p.m. on the East Coast, 7 o'clock here in Los Angeles, and this is a special edition of America's Late News, Fox News at Night. And breaking tonight, Houston, we have no problem. The Artemis 2 astronauts back on Earth and on their way to get medically cleared before heading back to land.
From the pages of Jules Verne to a modern-day mission to the moon, a new chapter of the exploration of our celestial neighbor is complete. Integrity's astronauts back on Earth.
Yep, NASA calling it the perfect bullseye splashdown after the capsule withstood extreme heat up to 3,000 degrees and speeds of 24,000 miles per hour before landing safely about maybe 60 nautical miles off the coast of San Diego.
It's an incredible series of chain of events that have to happen, and incredible human minds on Earth put those things together and made it work.
The 9-day mission bringing the 4 astronauts around the moon and back in a record-breaking flyby that took them deeper into space than any humans before them.
There's so much data that you've seen already, but all the good stuff is coming back with us. There's so many more pictures, so many more stories.
The question everyone's asking now, what does this mission mean for future moon missions? And what's next for these history-making astronauts? Let's go live to the senior correspondent, Jonathan Serry. He's at the Johnson Space Center in Houston. Jonathan, what a mission this was.
This was an incredible mission. It was near perfect from launch to splashdown. In fact, when they committed to that translunar injection, that major burn that moved them out of a relatively low Earth orbit on a course to the moon, it was so accurate, they were able to skip some of the corrective burns on the way to the moon, just some of the maneuvering operations they had planned. And it was only as they were approaching Earth that they needed to pick a landing site, a splashdown site, and make those last burns to adjust the course. They came in hot, as expected, but that heat shield, it held up, it served its purpose, and the astronauts came down apparently in good health. They're being brought to the ship as a precaution. Doctors will check them out, but if all is well, they could be transferred back to Johnson Space Center here in Houston as early as tomorrow to be reunited with their families, to begin sort of a limited rehab program to readjust to Earth's gravity, and then in the coming 2 weeks, we expect to hear from them in a news conference, and can't wait, because these guys were so inspiring before the mission. They were especially inspiring during the mission, and I can't wait to hear more about their experiences. Trace.
You know, it's interesting, Jonathan, because you talk about the inspiration these astronauts brought. I'm just wondering, you are at the Johnson Space Center in Houston. What was the atmosphere there like? It had to be just electric.
It was, because this is the nerve center during the mission. This is where mission control is. And so there was this nervous excitement. And it's interesting because what they were trying to achieve with this mission was so incredible, and just as a layman, a non-rocket scientist, I'm watching the re-entry and it's a nail biter, but there's a cool confidence. These people are so intelligent, they've calculated the trajectory, they know the risks, they've accepted a qualified risk, but they had confidence that they were going to get these 4 astronauts back safely, and the astronauts themselves were part of these safety reviews, these multiple meetings that were going on with the engineers, both with NASA and also their commercial suppliers, and ultimately the 4 astronauts had to sign off on this mission, and they went into it with confidence, and that confidence paid off.
For the record, Jonathan Serry has been covering space long enough that he should be given an honorary doctorate in rocket science. Jonathan, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Back to you as News One in this. Let's bring in the panel. Spacecraft structural analyst and prospective astronaut Dylan Dickstein and former NASA astronaut Jose Hernandez. I just want to get early. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on the show. I just want to get kind of early response. First to you, Jose. I mean, just when you saw it splash down and you hear, Jules Verne, you hear NASA kind of going through, and you could kind of feel the excitement. What did you think about the mission?
I thought it was an extraordinary mission. I think they got an A for everything. Recall, it's a test mission, so they're testing every system, including the